Previously on MasterChef.
Rami. You got an apron.
Let's go.
Good job.
Scallops are perfect.
Good job.
Good luck. Thank you. Thank you.
So, as many of you know, my claim to fame is that signature dish that I made on MasterChef, my scallops Florentine over roasted red pepper and sweet potato puree with cinnamon. The same dish that Gordon Ramsey said was perfect. He said his scallops are perfect. But obviously, he told me to get real first, but he still gave me the apron. But anyways, what I'm gonna show you guys today is how I make this signature scallop dish. We're gonna start with all these ingredients right here. We got tomatoes, fire roasted red peppers, blanched carrots, spinach, cream, my homemade marinara, some butter, sweet potato, garlic, scallops, salt, pepper, curry, cinnamon. All this is gonna go into this beautiful dish. So what we're gonna do is, first thing is that we're gonna roast the sweet potato and the garlic, which I've already roasted the garlic just because it can take a little bit of time. And I want to show you the best way to roast garlic. So what you do, you cut the tip off to where you expose the top of the garlic, just like that. And then you sprinkle it with some olive oil, and then you cover it in aluminum foil and you roast it. And then you got it like this, and then it just squeezes out. And that's what we want. Roasted garlic, the flavored roasted garlic. Don't mind that it's smoking because I have no feeling in my hand from all the times I've burned myself. I lie, it is kind of hot. But anyways, but that's what we want. So I already did that. So we'll put that to the side for now. That's gonna get blended with the roasted sweet potato. Those two are gonna go in a blender with the carrots and in a blender with the fire roasted red pepper. And then we're gonna add some cinnamon to it. And I try and minimize, when I first made this dish, and this is gonna be a little bit different than when I made it on the show. When I made it on the show, I had cream and I had butter in the puree, but as I've become a more refined chef and as I've gotten older and unhealthier, I try to make healthy stuff. Older and unhealthier. I guess I'm getting older and trying to be healthier. I'm scratch that, I'm good, I'm great. Anyways, I figured out how to give it flavor without using too much dairy. So we're gonna minimize the dairy in this portion. I used to use dairy in this portion, but we're gonna cut that out because you're still gonna get that flavor there, okay? So now we're gonna go and put everything into the blender. All right, so you can use any blender or any Ninja or any, what do they call these, bullets, right? Oh, okay, bullets. These are bullets, right? My last name in Arabic actually means bullet, Rami Rosses. Well, it has two meanings. It's lead. So in Arabic, it's either bullet or a pencil. It's like two opposite ends of the spectrum. You know, one bullet, one flimsy pencil. All right, I already have some peppers in there. And then what we can also do is we can also add a little bit of olive oil just to give it a little bit more texture. All right, Rami bullet, about to use the bullet. All right, now what I also like to do is I also like to season while it's in the blender so it can mix up the seasoning fairly well. So with this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some salt, some pepper, and some cinnamon. If you don't like cinnamon, another thing that you could use is you could use a little bit of cayenne pepper just to give it a little bit of kick. Cinnamon gives it a nice little kick without it being too spicy. Or you could use cinnamon and cayenne pepper. All right, that part is done, okay? So now that we have our puree, the puree is gonna go on the bottom, scallops go on top, and the Florentine sauce goes on top. So what we're gonna do now before we cook the scallops is we've made the bottom, we made the top, we're gonna make the top, and then the scallops are gonna go in between. All right, so we're gonna make the Florentine sauce here. The Florentine sauce is actually one of the things that I learned at the Italian restaurant that I worked at, my family's Italian restaurant. And basically what a Florentine sauce is, it's a blend of marinara sauce, whipping cream, which is like an Alfredo sauce, with spinach, tomatoes, and some Parmesan. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the spinach, the tomatoes. Hey, toss them around. And then we'll put in the spinach. You know, one thing spinach is like, it's very deceiving, right? I could take this whole thing and I could build a mountain of spinach and then it would all cook down to like a half a cup. It's annoying. Funny how it made Popeye so strong. I don't know. All right, we're gonna let that cook a little bit. Just move it around. Then I'll add the cream. I'm just gonna layer the bottom of the pan with cream. So the one thing about this dish is it has a lot of components that can be a lot of work for such a little bit of such a little part in the dish. It's kind of like if the scallop was the star of the show, like me, then the Florentine sauce is just an extra in the scene. Which I used to be an actor, and all I played were extras in scenes. So it's nice being the star every now and then. Actually, no, the scallop's the star. I guess I'm back to being an extra again. Anyway, so now I'm gonna add the tomato sauce, and we're just gonna blend that in there till we get a nice pink color. And we're gonna let that cook down a little bit, and then we're gonna add some Parmesan cheese. You don't want it to be too runny, so you have to let it cook down a little bit. And the Parmesan cheese also helps bind the sauce. So right now you see we got a pink sauce. So I'm gonna let that cook down a little bit. And then I'm gonna grate it with some Parmesan. Okay. All right, so a way you can know it's ready is if you look at the bubbles when they get smaller and a little bit more condensed right there, that means it's getting to the texture that we want, just like that. Everybody loves the Florentine sauce. It's really, really rich and really, really delicious. So it's something that if you ever have some marinara and you ever have some cream at home and you just want to create something different, just blend the two together. You'll get this nice, rich, creamy, delicious sauce. And really you could throw anything in there, any type of vegetables you want. Okay, so that's done. So we're gonna let that cool off. Not too much, but we're just gonna let that sit right there while we make our scallops. All right, so now we're gonna cook the scallops. And before you cook them, obviously you wanna season them, but before you season them, you wanna make sure they are dry. You don't wanna season and sear wet scallops. So these are pretty dry. There's no moisture on them at all. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some salt, sprinkle it on. And you wanna be about, for me, I do about 6 inches away. The rule I think is like 2 inches just so it doesn't get concentrated, but I like to go a little bit higher, make sure it gets all spread out evenly. So we're gonna do the salt, and then we're gonna do pepper. And we'll do both sides, but I'm just gonna show you one side right now. But another thing, so when I went on MasterChef, I did not season, I used salt and pepper, but this third seasoning that I'm gonna use, I didn't do. Again, there's a chef that I know, and he's going to become a bit repetitive in this series. But Luca, who won MasterChef the season after me and again was on with me, I saw him, he cooked scallops one time and they had this beautiful, beautiful color. And I'm sorry, Luca, if I'm giving away your secrets, but I asked him, how do you get that color? He said, just a little bit of curry. Just a little bit of curry seasoning on them. So not enough to give it a curry flavor, but enough to give it some color. So ever since then, I've been doing a little bit of curry. A lot of people ask me, like, why, when I went on the show, why did I choose scallops as my signature dish? If you watch anything, any type of Gordon Ramsay show, specifically Hell's Kitchen, scallops are on his menu all the time. And scallops are the one dish that's constantly thrown back in his chef's faces for like being overcooked or undercooked. And when I went to audition on the show, I wanted to pick out a signature dish. I like to challenge myself. So I'm like, what kind of dish that can I do that can, you know, kind of stand out and be, you know, I guess, you know, ballsy, right? So I was like, you know, I honestly had never cooked scallops before in my life, never. And I'd never eaten them. And so I was like, I'm gonna cook scallops. So I actually looked up a video on YouTube of Gordon Ramsay cooking scallops. All right, so now that they are seasoned, we're gonna take them over to the pan and we are going to sear them. Okay, so you wanna use a non-stick pan. And again, you wanna put enough oil to where it lines the bottom, and you want it to get really, really hot. And the key to searing scallops is we're gonna lay them down gently, and we're gonna let them cook on one side, and then we're gonna flip them. You don't wanna move them around too much, and you don't wanna overcrowd the pan. So the technique I use is I start here and I go around the outside, and then you let it sit for a minute, and then you start flipping them in the same rotation. So don't put them in the center. Some people make that mistake, just stick on the outside. All right. Ideally with the scallops you want golden brown on both sides and then just white in the middle. Now all scallops aren't the same shape. Just be cautious. If one looks like it maybe needs a little bit more, is a little bit thicker, don't be afraid to leave it. Just keep an eye on it. Like these on the end, I think they could use a little bit more. Okay, now that they're ready, I'm just gonna put in a little bit of butter at the end. The butter helps give them a little bit more flavor and caramelizes them a little bit. I'm not tossing them around in there, I'm just sliding them. And I'll flip it. So we got great color on one side, and hopefully get that same color on the other side. The butter just gives it that little extra glow. All right, so everything's ready. We have the puree that's going on the bottom, the scallops going in the middle, and then the Florentine sauce that goes on top, and now we're gonna plate it. All right. So we're gonna put the puree on the bottom. And you can get as creative as you want. I just like to put it here, brush it a little bit. All right. And then we're gonna lay the scallops on top. Now you can put as many scallops as you want. For this, I'm just gonna do 3. And then we're gonna take the Florentine sauce. And I like to put a little bit of everything in one bite. So I'm gonna lay a tomato on top. And again, it's not gonna be too saucy. Lay a tomato on top, and then make sure every piece has spinach. All right. We're gonna garnish it with some fire roasted red peppers. And the way you eat this, we're gonna go back over here. The way you eat this is you want an entire bite. You just take the scallop, scrape the puree, and put the whole thing in your mouth, because all these flavors, as Graham Elliott would say, Southwest flavors, they all kind of balance each other out. So this is it. This is my MasterChef signature dish, scallops Florentine over roasted red pepper and sweet potato puree with cinnamon.